The world watches with bated breath. Tensions are rising, alliances are being tested. The spectre of a global conflict, a chilling echo of the 20th century's darkest chapters, looms larger than ever. From the battlefields of Ukraine to the halls of power in Washington, Moscow and Beijing, the drums of war beat a relentless rhythm. Statements from world leaders, once measured and diplomatic, have taken on a sharper, more ominous tone. Military exercises, once routine, now bristle with live ammunition and a palpable sense of urgency. The question is no longer a third world war could erupt, but the situation in Ukraine remains the most immediate flashpoint. What began as a regional conflict has spiraled into a proxy war, drawing in global superpowers and threatening to ignite a wider conflagration. The recent declarations of former Ukrainian Commander-in-Chief Valery Zaluzhny have only added fuel to the fire. His stark pronouncements about the involvement of Russia's allies, coupled with increasingly bellicose rhetoric from the Kremlin, paint a grim picture. The world waits anxiously, hoping for a diplomatic solution but bracing for the worst. The stakes have never been higher. The potential consequences of a global conflict are too catastrophic to contemplate. And yet the world seems to be sleepwalking towards the abyss, trapped in a dangerous game of brinkmanship with no clear end in sight. The time for complacency is long past. The world must wake up to the very real threat of a third world war before it's too late. As we delve deeper into the current geopolitical landscape, we will examine the key players, the potential triggers, and the possible outcomes of this high-stakes game of international chess. The path to peace is fraught with peril, but it is a path we must navigate with courage, wisdom, and an unwavering commitment to dialogue and diplomacy. Few individuals possess the insight into the current conflict in Ukraine as Valery Zaluzhny, the former commander-in-chief of the Ukrainian armed forces, a seasoned military strategist and a man who has stared into the abyss of war, offered a chilling assessment of the situation. His words sent shockwaves through the international community, shattering any illusions of a contained regional conflict. World War III, he declared, is not a distant possibility. It is already upon us. Zaluzhny's declaration was not based on speculation or conjecture. It was rooted in the cold, hard reality of the battlefield. He pointed to the undeniable presence of North Korean soldiers fighting alongside Russian forces, a testament to the deepening alliance between these two isolated nations. He highlighted the proliferation of Iranian-made drones terrorizing Ukrainian cities, evidence of Tehran's growing involvement in the conflict. And he warned of the steady stream of weapons and material flowing from China bolstering Russia's war machine. These are not the actions of uninvolved bystanders. These are the calculated moves of nations choosing to involve themselves in a conflict with global implications. Zaluzhny's message was clear. This is not just Russia's war against Ukraine. It is a war against the very principles of sovereignty, territorial integrity, and international order. The international community cannot afford to ignore Zaluzhny's warning. His words are a wake-up call, a stark reminder that the conflict in Ukraine has the potential to escalate into a global conflagration. The world must heed his message and act decisively to prevent the current crisis from spiraling out of control. Across the negotiating table, the Russian bear growls, its patience wearing thin. Vladimir Putin, the steely-eyed leader of a resurgent Russia, has made his intentions clear. The invasion of Ukraine was not a spur-of-the-moment decision. It was a calculated move in a much larger geopolitical game. Putin views the West, with its NATO alliance and its promises of Ukrainian integration, as an existential threat. He sees the expansion of NATO eastward as a betrayal, a broken promise, and a direct challenge to Russia's sphere of influence. Putin's rhetoric has become increasingly bellicose, laced with thinly veiled threats and warnings. He has rattled the nuclear saber, reminding the world of Russia's vast arsenal and its willingness to use it if necessary. His pronouncements are not idle boasts. They are a clear message to the West: back down or face the consequences. The Russian military, despite setbacks in Ukraine, remains a formidable force. Its vast nuclear arsenal, its sophisticated cyber warfare capabilities, and its willingness to project power far beyond its borders make it a dangerous adversary. Putin has shown himself to be a ruthless and unpredictable actor on the world stage, willing to take risks and defy international norms in pursuit of his goals. The West finds itself at a crossroads. Appeasement, history has shown, is a dangerous game, often emboldening aggressors and inviting further aggression. But direct confrontation with a nuclear-armed Russia carries its own set of catastrophic risks. Finding the right balance, the right mix of deterrence and diplomacy, is essential to preventing the current crisis from escalating into a full-blown global conflict. Section 4. The Nuclear Sword of Damocles. Above the simmering tensions, above the battlefield maneuvers and the diplomatic posturing, hangs a spectre that chills the blood, the nuclear sword of Damocles. The mere mention of these weapons, capable of unimaginable destruction, is enough to send shivers down the spines of even the most hardened military strategists. The unthinkable, once confined to the realm of Cold War paranoia, has re-emerged as a terrifying possibility. Putin, throughout the conflict in Ukraine, has repeatedly invoked Russia's nuclear arsenal, brandishing it as a warning to the West. He's overseen high-profile military exercises simulating nuclear strikes, a not-so-subtle reminder of Russia's capabilities. And he has surrounded himself with hardliners who espouse a dangerous nuclear doctrine, one that envisions the use of these weapons not as a last resort, but as a viable tool in a conventional conflict. The danger, of course, lies not only in Putin's words, but also in the potential for miscalculation. In the fog of war, amidst the chaos and confusion of a rapidly escalating conflict, even the most carefully calibrated plans can go awry. A miscommunication, a misinterpretation, a simple error in judgment could have catastrophic consequences. The world held its breath when Putin, during a recent joint press conference with North Korean Supreme Leader Kim Jong-un, issued another veiled nuclear threat, this time directed at both Ukraine and its NATO allies. While many analysts believe that a nuclear strike remains unlikely in the current geopolitical climate, the unpredictability of both leaders, coupled with the escalating tensions, has injected a chilling new dimension into the conflict. Section 5. A tangled web of alliances. The conflict in Ukraine is not a simple binary struggle between Russia and the West. It is a tangled web of alliances, a complex interplay of geopolitical interests and historical grievances. On one side stands Russia, increasingly isolated on the world stage, but bolstered by its partnerships with rogue regimes. On the other side stands Ukraine, supported by a coalition of Western nations committed to upholding international law and deterring further Russian aggression. The involvement of North Korea, Iran and China in the conflict adds a dangerous new dimension to the crisis. North Korea, a nation with a history of belligerence and a penchant for brinkmanship, has sent troops to fight alongside Russian forces in Ukraine, a testament to the deepening alliance between these two pariah states. Iran, eager to strike at the West and bolster its regional ambitions, has provided Russia with advanced drones, adding a new layer of complexity to the conflict. China, the world's second-largest economy and a rising military power, has so far walked a delicate tightrope, providing rhetorical support to Russia while refraining from overt military assistance. However, China's growing economic and military might, coupled with its ambition to reshape the global order, makes it a wild card in the current crisis. The conflict in Ukraine has exposed the fault lines in the international system, revealing a world increasingly divided along ideological and geopolitical lines. The old certainties of the post-Cold War era have evaporated, replaced by a dangerous new era of uncertainty and competition.